Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So folks, before we started this episode, I just want to again push this out because I put it out into a post. Some people may have already seen it. A lot of people I already suspect probably have not. But I have confirmed, and I will push out here, that next Saturday I will be joining with Coach Dan on Lions Talk Live. We'll be having, a 10 to 15 minute live show. Probably going to talk about, different things from camp. Also talk about the Hall of Fame game. I know some people have talked about it in the past, just never had really a chance to kind of, coordinate between the two of us to kind of get things going. But that is officially going to happen. Obviously, you guys probably, if you guys watch his show, will know what time that's going to most likely happen. But I just wanted to push it out that I am indeed going to be going on his show. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be an immense amount of fun. So, looking forward to it with a lot of great anticipation. But, having gotten that announcement out of the way, let's actually talk about what this episode is talking about. When it comes to the Detroit Lions, over the last couple of years, they have transformed themselves into one of the best teams. Everybody knows it. Everybody has seen it. The Detroit Lions are considered Super Bowl contenders. They have gone the hard way, the right way, about making themselves into a really, really damn good team. However, though, that does not mean that the team does not have its flaws. It doesn't have its things that, will constantly kind of, pop up where, hey, this could be better. And when it comes to the Detroit Lions, there's always been one particular area. There's always been one particular thing that always seems to rear its ugly head whenever we're playing particular teams. Now, what am I specifically referring to here? What I'm specifically referring to here is whenever the Detroit Lions play against teams that have what are known as mobile quarterbacks, or quarterbacks that can really do damage with their legs. This is an issue that, a lot of Lions fans know about, but not really a whole lot of podcasters talk about, or really even, kind of hint at, suggest, whatever the case might be. And for me, it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, you know what? I understand that it's a problem. I understand that the Lions know that it's a problem. I understand that the Lions know that in the past it's one of those things where they've tried their best to figure out ways to, mitigate that problem, find a way to, make it less of a problem for them. But as we have seen over the last couple of years, whenever we play against a team that has a really mobile quarterback, it usually means that there's going to be trouble. It usually means there's going to be points within the game where you're going to see that quarterback, whoever he might be, and he's going to go off and take off for a 10, 15-yard scramble, or he's going to have multiple scrambles like that. It just really depends. But I can tell you this right now. For Lions fans, this is probably one of the most aggravating, one of the most irritating, one of the most annoying things to see, because it's like, hey, you know what? All other aspects of our team, for the most part, are pretty damn good. We have probably the best offense in the NFL, not only in terms of being able to run the ball, throw the ball, play action passing, deep passing, quick throws, trick plays, whatever the case might be. Our offense is, I believe, 100% the best. When it comes to our defense on an overall front, like I've said, last year we were a top 10 defense. In terms of the passing defense, we had a top 5 unit in terms of, not only limiting the QBR, the quarterback rating, in terms of limiting completions, in terms of limiting touchdowns, garnering interceptions. And, we also had a top 5 rush defense overall in terms of overall yards given up. But the problem is that when it comes to stopping mobile quarterbacks, this has always been a problem for the Lions defense. And I know for a lot of Lions fans, it's an area that they have grown very tired of, and that for them, they would like to see there be some substantial progress made to where it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about seeing those types of quarterbacks absolutely gouge us for, these huge chunks of yards, which then means that, other things are going to become available, such as, just running the ball in general with a running back, or, hey, you know what, the play action game gets opened up, or the ability to throw to wide open receivers, because now you're worried about that. And I will admit that having a dual threat quarterback that can both run and throw, that definitely is a problem, and it's definitely a weapon that a lot of teams, if they have the quarterback to do that, they will exploit it to their advantage. But let me tell you something here. When I take a look at what's been going on in training camp, when I take a look at what's been going on in terms of how the defense is, going about its, business, how they're trying to get themselves ready for the upcoming year, I truly believe that the Lions are going to be probably in the best position that they've possibly been in over the last couple of years to really exercise this demon that has, continually plagued them over the last couple of years. And there are several reasons as to why I believe that. Number one, let's just first and foremost go with the simple argument, the simple understanding of the fact that, like I've said, the Lions have known that this is a problem that they've had on defense for a number of years. They've tried to address it. They've tried to find ways to solve it. And it's like, listen, when you know something is a problem, when you know something is a potential area of weakness, you will try and find whatever you can. You will try to find ways to, again, like I said, mitigate that problem, make sure that it, has the ability to become an area of strength, or at the very least, not an area of weakness. So just the understanding that there's a problem is already a good step in the right direction. But as I know some people are going to say is, well, as you just said, David, the Lions have known it's been a problem for years, but that doesn't necessarily mean the problem's been solved. What allows me to think that the problem is going to be solved, what allows me to think that the Lions are going to finally figure this out, or at the very least, like I said, actually be able to get a handle on it, is what we're actually seeing in camp, what we're seeing from the players, what we're seeing from the coaches. First and foremost here, let's actually understand the fact, like I said yesterday, when it comes to the edge rushers, particularly Hutchinson and particularly Davenport, we're already seeing how the Lions' edge rushing attack is really starting to manifest itself into a really damn good monster. Again, obviously we know what Hutch is. Hutch is an all-pro kind of like, freaking edge rusher. He's one of the best in the business. He's fast, he's flexible, he's agile. He has a relentless, engagement about getting into the backfield and causing a whole bunch of problems for quarterbacks. And when you think about it, last year we really didn't get much of an opportunity to see him go up against one of those more mobile quarterbacks. I mean, if I recall correctly, in the first 5 games that we played last year, probably the most mobile quarterback that we played against was probably the one where he got injured, which was Dak Prescott. Most other guys, and again, I don't remember all 5 games, but I know we played the Cowboys, I know we played the Vikings, and I know there were a couple of others sprinkled in there, but I don't recall us playing against a Lamar Jackson. I don't recall us playing against Justin Fields. I don't recall us playing against, those types of quarterbacks, which, hey, you know what? They are just as deadly on the ground as they are through the air. So it's like, okay, here. Let's understand where we're coming from when we're talking about Hutch. Number one, as I said yesterday, as Kelvin Shepard has said yesterday, and damn near everybody in camp has said, Hutchinson looks better than he ever has, and especially coming back from the injury. So if you believe that, like I believe it, and you base the fact that, hey, you know what? We didn't get to see Hutchinson for, 2/3 of the year last year due to that injury, and when we could have used him in games like, against the Commanders with Jaden Daniels and, a couple of other games where we had to deal with those more mobile quarterbacks, that would have made a big, big damn bit of difference. So having him back, and again, having him back better, having him back more stronger, more faster, more nimble, that really speaks volumes as to what we should be able to get from him. Now, when we flip it on the other side, and we talk about Davenport, again, I know that when it comes to Davenport, there are people that are going to still try and, downplay it. They're not going to trust in it. And you know what? That's fine. I understand it. Trust is something that is earned. It's not given. And I know for some people, they're never going to trust Davenport. Hence the reason why they refer to him as Davenhurt, not Davenport. But, again, I trust what I see. I trust the reports that I'm hearing. And I have to have this viewpoint that, okay, based upon everything that's been coming out, based upon how we've been hearing Davenport's been doing in camp, based upon the reports about how his body feels to be in, his body's in a really good place, his health is in the best place that it's been ever in his career, it's like, okay, you have a guy that is clearly on a warpath to show his worth. You have a guy that is clearly putting everything he has into saying, listen, I don't care what other people are saying about me. I don't care what the doubters think. I'm here to work. I'm here to prove that I know that I can be a damn good player. And so far what we're hearing from training camp is that is proving to be the case. So, okay, you've got an all-pro edge rusher, one of the best in Hutch on one side. You've got a guy in Davenport who, when he is fully healthy, when he is fully on his game, he is a very impactful edge rusher. So at the very least, on that front, you've got two guys in Davenport and Hutch that can definitely maintain the edges. They're veterans, they know what to expect, they know what to look for. But it's not just them. As I also mentioned yesterday, you've also got Ahmed Hazani, you've also got Ukwu, you've also got Muhammad. These are guys that while they don't have the experience as much per se, either due to the fact of the amount of games they've played in or the amount of years that they've played, or the fact that they're just rookies like Hazani, they have immense amount of energy, and they are already showing that, hey, you know what? In this rotation that the Lions are trying to implement of, hey, you know what? We have Hutch, we have Davenport, we have Hazani, we have Ukwu, we have Muhammad. They can fit those three guys that I just mentioned into that rotation to make sure that, well, number one, nobody's getting absolutely wore the hell out, but also number two, it maintains that, there's less likelihood of injury. And on top of that, it allows them to continue to get better, especially Ukwu and Muhammad, who last year for us, they were actually pretty productive. They were actually, I wouldn't say they were top-notch, but they were pretty damn good. They were able to, apply pressure. They were able to do a lot of things for us. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're on Hutch's level, but it does mean this, that, hey, you know what? The experience that they gained last year, coming into camp this year, picking up where they left off, and continuing to provide excellent depth and rotation to this edge component, along with Hazanine, who, again, already has been making noise in camp, his energy, his, quick learning ability, and his passionate determination to just get as good, as fast as possible, that right there ought to tell you something. It's like, okay, we've got the savvy veterans, we've got the great edge rusher, and we've got these younger guys behind us that are full of energy. They definitely have chips on their shoulder. Two of them have got experience from last year that are coming back. They know what to expect from the defense. They know what they can provide. So as far as the edge rushing element is concerned, that right there already is a good source of confidence, because it's like, listen, when we're talking about mobile quarterbacks, the one thing that quarterbacks that are mobile love to do is they love to do what are known as backdoor escapes, where it's pretty much, hey, you know what? Rather than going right up the middle, I'm going to leak out to the outside, and I'm going to use that open space that's on the perimeter to try and pick up yards. Or if for whatever reason the edges maintain something there, I'm going to try and see if I can find somewhere to dump it off, maybe find somebody that's coming open over the middle to the sideline, whatever the case might be. But when you have these edge rushers that are just absolutely tenacious, they're relentless, they constantly are applying pressure, they're constantly getting after the quarterback, it makes it much more difficult for that mobile quarterback to really have an effect on us. I'm not saying impossible, but it makes it more difficult. So as far as the edge rushing component is concerned, that ought to provide some confidence to people. Now, that takes care of the edge, but what about the middle? What about the interior? Well, first and foremost, let's understand something here. I understand, we don't have McNeil. There are reports that McNeil could be coming back sooner than what was anticipated. And that's great news. But it doesn't mean he's going to be here for the start of the season. Chances are, if you go based upon what some people are saying that he might be back earlier, maybe he's back just before the midpoint of the season. Maybe he's back by, week 6, week 7, something like that. But think about this. We still have DJ Reader in the middle. Tyleik Williams was one of the best run defenders in college. He's young, he's energetic, he's got a whole hell of a lot of power and strength. That should help as well. But what also is in the middle, which not only helps the interior of the defense against mobile quarterbacks, but it helps the entire defense, is a guy by the name of Jack Campbell. And I'm going to say this right now. Jack Campbell, I think, as far as a player element is concerned, other than, Hutch and all the other guys that I mentioned as far as helping on the edges, but if you're talking about an overall element to helping out the entire scope, the entire realm of the defense, Jack Campbell's definitely that. Again, we've already heard from the training camp, practices, the reports from Dan Campbell, Kelvin Shepard, the whole likes of them. They have said the same thing about Jack Campbell. They're like, listen, this guy's the leader of the defense now. But the thing that they also keep saying that is really, really crucial to understanding why I think the Lions are going to be able to have the ability to, really put a stop or put a kink in this whole issue is Jack Campbell is probably the smartest player, not only on our defense, but he's probably one of the smartest defensive players in the NFL. Again, we've heard how everyone is saying, listen, this guy intensely studies film, whether it's the Lions' offensive film, whether it's the defensive film, or whether it's looking at the offensive film of other teams. This guy is very intense in terms of his mental preparation as well as his physical preparation. And again, when you start thinking about that, you start thinking about guys like, from the past that also were very, very intense, that took their study very, very seriously. Guys like Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis, all of these other really great middle linebackers where it's like, hey, they were not only the captain of the defense, but they were the quarterback of the defense. They knew exactly what the opposing offense was trying to do. And they were out there playing chess matches with the opposing offense, with the opposing quarterback. And the fact that Jack Campbell has been this way since he got into the NFL, again, you go back to when the Lions were, in the drafting process of scouting him, they literally said when they brought him in for a pre-draft meeting that he was literally doing the defensive install to them. That's how damn smart he is. And the ability for him to understand not only what the Lions defense is trying to do to an opposing offense, but also understand what that opposing offense is trying to do to that defense, it puts him in an ability to say, hey, you know what? Based upon what I'm seeing, I know how to counter this. I know how to put our defense in the best way possible. Or I know that, hey, you know what? Based upon this assignment, based upon this play, based upon this front, this is what I need to do. And also where I need to put other guys in place so that way they know what to do. Again, when you're dealing with something like a mobile quarterback, and you might not necessarily have the physical ability to just stop them in overwhelming numbers, the best way to beat them is by playing smart, outsmarting them, knowing, hey, you know what, if this is what you're going to do, this is the best countermeasure that I have available, or the best countermeasure that is to try and stop you. And again, Jack Campbell has shown that he knows how to do that. And you have to think about all the other linebackers that we have. Alex Anzalone, again, I know a lot of people are kind of up and down about what's going to happen with him, but Alex Anzalone has said, listen, even though I'm not very confident or I'm not very happy with what's going on with the current contract situation, he's not going to sit out practices, he's not going to sit out games. He's just not happy about where the contract negotiations are, but he's not going to say, hey, because I'm not happy with where something is, that I'm going to take myself away from the team and thus hurt the team. But having Alex Anzalone on the field, a veteran who knows what he's doing, has a wide range on terms of that linebacking core. Same thing with Derek Barnes. And then on top of that, you've got this guy, Zach Cunningham, who's been doing really great things in camp and has already proven in the past that, hey, you know what? This guy knows what the hell he's doing. You also have Trevor Nowaski. I mean, there's a lot of talent in that linebacking core. And with Jack Campbell leading the way and his ability to understand what the defense is doing, that really sets things up to be like, hey, you know what? If everything on the line is in good condition, such as the interior and the edges, then the linebackers can really do their free range motion to say, hey, you know what? If for whatever reason we have a mobile quarterback that wants to try, leak outside to the edges or wants to try and do something up the middle, we can stay in position to make sure we limit that damage as much as possible. And then at the very top of that whole pyramid is Kelvin Shepard. Now, I'm going to say this right now. The one thing about Kelvin Shepard that I like very differently than Aaron Glenn when he was here is it's that Kelvin Shepard seems to have more of an idea about the importance of saying, hey, you know what? We need to have an off-ball kind of look here to allow the linebackers to make plays. Because it seemed like with Aaron Glenn, everything was very static. Everything was kind of like, hey, this is your spot, this is your role, this is your job. Don't deviate from it. And the fact that the Lions were able to do as much as they were on defense with that kind of rigid mindset, I attribute that all to the players. But Kelvin Shepard seems to have a much more flexible understanding of saying, hey, you know what? The players have to have the flexibility. They have to have the ability in general to move around to understand what's going on that defense so that way they can make plays. So for Kelvin Shepard to have more of this off-ball look when it comes to the defense as far as like, hey, I'm going to trust you guys to know what you're doing. I'm going to trust you guys to go out there and make plays, generate turnovers, guide the defense, and, make sure you guys are in the right spots. When you allow players to actually grow into that role, I believe that it allows the players to get better faster because rather than them staying into this rigid box where it's like, hey, this is your role, don't deviate out of it, you allow them to say, hey, you know what? I have no restrictions. I have no limits. I have no boundaries. I can now start branching myself out into all these multiple other areas. So it gives those players, whether it's the linemen, whether it's the linebackers, or hell, the defensive backs, it gives them a better ability to keep an eye on those pesky mobile quarterbacks because it's like, hey, you know what? I know what my primary responsibility is, but I should also make sure that I'm aware of, hey, you know what? We've got this mobile quarterback back here. If he decides to do something, that's my secondary responsibility. And when you have linebackers like Jack Campbell, just to tie that back in, who understand that that's what an offense can potentially do, they can make sure that whether it's the defensive backs, whether it's the defensive linemen, whether it's the edge rushers, whether it's the other linebackers, it's like, hey, I can see something is about to happen here. I can see that this play could potentially break big if we do not adjust ourselves. So having that more of an off-ball defensive look, allowing defensive players to have more freedom to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. We need to make adjustments on the field. It allows for a greater ability for the players to react and thus make better plays. Whereas, hey, you know what? The coach sends the play in. We're going to go with this play. You don't really have a whole lot of room to navigate. You don't really have a whole lot of room to check or change things. That, to me, is a big difference with what Kelvin Shepard provides versus what Aaron Glenn provided. Now, I'm saying this right now. Obviously, it's training camp. We're still working out all the bugs. We're still working out all the little things that need to get figured out here. But, again, based upon how Kelvin Shepard is approaching his defense as far as giving them more freedom to actually, go out and make plays, and how these players in camp are already showing that, hey, they're well in front of the curve as far as understanding their roles. They're well in front of the curve in terms of understanding what their roles are in that defense, where they can expand upon those roles. It really tells me that, hey, you know what? The Lions should be in a really good spot to exercise this demon of, mobile quarterbacks, and really should have the chance to start clamping down on that. And if they can, let's understand something here. The Lions face a lot of mobile quarterbacks this year. They face Lamar Jackson. They face Jalen Hurts. They're going to face, Jaden Daniels again. They're going to face a lot of mobile quarterbacks. So understanding how to stop that, especially early on in camp, that's going to go a long way to being able to stop those kinds of guys. So for me, it's like, hey, I like what I see out of camp so far. I like the reports that I'm hearing. And it gives me confidence to think that, hey, you know what? We might be actually able to do something different this year in regards to this problem. Now, whether or not you guys will agree with me, whether or not you guys will think maybe I'm being a little overconfident or maybe I'm just talking too much stuff up, I don't know. All I will say is this. If you disagree, that's fine. Just keep it respectful. But I hope you all enjoyed the content. Hopefully I was able to give you guys some of the confidence that I'm having. Maybe it was able to open your eyes. So having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all please to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you've subscribed in the past and if you've not done so at the time, or if you just subscribed and you've not had a chance yet to do so, please, by all means, hit that bell notification icon. I hope everybody out there has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. And just like that, I also want to say, God bless my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.